Hello everybody, welcome to another stream trying publish. This time, so on the last stream we gave it a try and took a look at how it works and basically the job that John has done and we played a little bit with it and we even made this. I started working on this website for my wall building stuff. It's not at all finished. I'm basically using it to try a bunch of stuff. Let me open a little more light. There you go. So the other thing I just started the other day was I started building this plugin because I wanted the functionality, because if you go right now to my website, you're gonna see that all my posts have this read time, this estimated read time, to give an idea to the reader. It's something I really like, and it comes by default in many static site generators. At least it comes by default on Gatsby, and that's what I'm using here. So I thought let's try to build the same thing for publish, so in case I end up finishing this or moving my website, it's there, and if somebody else wants to use it, that's good. So basically I wanted to explore a little bit and show you how you can build your own plugin for publish. It's quite easy. So if you go to the documentation, you already see that publish is extensible, so you can actually add steps just by basically you just give it a name and you get a closure, and on that closure you have a context that gives you access to many basically all the functionality from the framework, from publish. You can add items, modify each item, each page. You can do a lot of stuff. And a plugin is nothing more than that, but just package, separated, basically as an extension of a plugin to give this nice syntax, that Swift provides. So to start with this, I'm gonna give you a brief overview of what's the state here, and I'm gonna give you a couple of things that I need to finish, and I want to try to improve one of these things. So first of all, I just created a repo. Basically, to start with, I created a package with Swift Package Manager. That's the first thing you need to do. So you just create a package that you can open right now with Xcode directly, and this is the package, and there is why is not working now? Maybe it's because I have it open here. Xcode used to do these kind of things before. Yes, exactly. Okay, fair enough. So the first thing, you just have your package, and as dependency I put the dependency on publish, on the most recent version, and then you just put that dependency against your target, and that's pretty much it. Make sure that it's a library and it's not a command line tool or anything like that, and then it's up to you. Here there is nothing specific. You could design this as in any way you wanted, but the idea for what I'm saying is that you want to extend a plugin, and with this you can have a static part. That this is what gives you the fancy that syntax. Basically a static function on any type, it's going to give you the fancy that syntax, that it's what the enums provide. I have a whole other post about that, and it's a perfect example of why you prefer to use static bars or static functions instead of things like enums, just in case that you want this fancy syntax. And then here you get the context and you do whatever you want. So in terms of code, this implementation is super simple. It's not at all super 100% accurate or anything like that, but basically the context has a rich API. But one of the most important things if you want to do stuff like this is that you can have access to closures that mutate, that allow you to mutate stuff like sections and items here. So I'm not just iterating over the sections, I'm using these mutate all sections, which give me an in-out section here, which means I can modify it. And I'm actually modifying the one that publish is working with, which is a really nice API that allows you to use value types but still have the benefits of mutation wherever you need it. So I go through all the sections, I go through all the items, and then for each item I get the text. So I get the body HTML. This is basically using Plot, which is the framework that also made by Join, that is basically parsing the markdown and creating the HTML. So I'm getting this as a string basically. Where is it? Here, as a string. I go through basically some regex to kind of get rid of the HTML tags. Again, this is not 100% accurate at all, it needs more work. But basically first I get all the count of words on the item, on the article or the page, whatever it is. And then I run through an estimation that I simply basically multiplying the words by, it's the number of words you can read per minute, so I get the number of minutes, basically. Again, this needs configurations and all that stuff, but these are the basics, which is what it's published right now. Now, the interesting thing here is, how do I store this data so do you then have access from your website? The way I'm doing it right now, which I don't like and it's something I want to change, is I have this protocol where I ask you to implement a property that I can set, and that's what I'm setting here. This is not nice at all. First, you need to do this work yourself. Fair enough, it doesn't matter. Second, there is nowhere that it's kind of forcing you to implement this protocol on the item, but that's how it needs to go. Actually, not on the item, it needs to go on the item metadata, because that's where I'm setting it. So you can only, I mean, there is a way that it's forced, is that you don't have access to this plugin unless your site metadata implements this protocol, which it's kind of nice. But then it's optional. And I don't want to be optional, because if you are installing the plugin on the website, the plugin is going to run, it's going to analyze the time for everything. So there is no much reason for it to be optional. Apart from that, I also want it to be a type, so I can add more data. Like I want to give you the words in case you want to do a calculation yourself, and I want to give you the minutes and probably something else. But still, that's the basics. As you can see, you just make a plugin, and inside this context you can do whatever you want. Cool. But I run against this limitation. So let's take a look at, instead of this, let's open the example website that I'm going to show you how I'm using this. Because I think this is where you see Swift Package Manager being really useful. Okay, so the thing you need to do is, when you're developing a plugin, is you define a dependency to this package, but you define a local dependency using this path. Instead of specifying a URL and a specific tag version, you can just use a path to your local folder, and that's it. And now this package, literally it's here, but you say that here it says local. So I can actually work on this package I can work with this package right now from this Xcode project that it's the project for the website. So I can actually start developing the package, using it at the same time and seeing how it feels and how the API works and everything. And I'm not modifying a copy of it, I'm actually literally modifying the files that are on the other repo. So then when I'm happy with that, I can just publish the repo, and then yes, I can use the real Git version with the proper versioning and all that stuff. But for developing it, this makes it super nice. So now that that's set, let's take a look at main.swift, which is where the website is defined. And you can see here that the way to use the plugin is install plugin, and you do that reading time, and plugin does the work. Pretty easy. Now, I don't know which version is this. Let me check 1 second. Yeah, so I was doing some modifications that actually means that this is not working right now, because I'm not conforming to that protocol. If I compile this, it's gonna complain and it's gonna say you cannot use this because your protocol doesn't conform to this, which is cool, but I don't want this to be a requirement. So what I'm gonna try to do is come up with a solution. Now the tricky thing here is that I don't have anywhere on publish to store the data. If you go to item, which is where it should go, or item metadata, you can see that a site items metadata, it's just an associated type conforming to this protocol. And this protocol, it's just decodable and hashable, so there is not much in there. And apart from that, an item itself doesn't have anywhere to put extra data from a plugin that then you can access. You could initially think that we could maybe ask the item to have a dictionary or something like that, but so we could make a PR into publish and stuff, but that quickly doesn't work, because the nice thing about all of this, about using Swift for this, is that everything is statically typed. What I mean by that? What I mean is that you can build your website theme, for example, which, no, it's not on the content, it's, where am I, on sources, here. So I have this custom theme, and I'm actually getting items specific from our site. So see on the test that I was doing here, you actually receive an item for your site. So when you're building your HTML and your templates, they actually have all the data that you know they will have, which is really nice. If we start adding dictionaries and stuff like that for plugins, it loses the niceties of this. You know, then why are we using Swift? It doesn't make any sense. So that doesn't leave us with many alternatives that I could think of. So my initial idea was, with a protocol I can ask the user to let me put more things on item data, and that's what I did. But then why is it optional? It's optional because if you go here and you add the property that I'm asking for, so if I go here and I say reading time metadata, and I implement the requirement, which is actually a property where I can put the reading time metadata that I'm calculating for you. So if you do that, if it was not optional, now this item metadata, the way publish uses it, it fills it based on what is called the content matter, which is the comments at the top, like the key values on the top of the markdown file. If this is not there, which is not going to be, because the nice thing is that the plugin calculates it for you. If you need to write it yourself, there is no plugin. So when it's not there, it's going to throw an exception. Codable, it's going to complain. And that's not what we want, because the whole point is that it's done automatically. So I cannot add the value here. So it means that I don't have a place to store it. So my initial solution was just make it optional. When the decoding encounters that this is not there, it's not gonna complain, it's just gonna make it nil, and then when my plugin runs, it's gonna set the appropriate numbers. That's fine, but then it means that when you are making your HTML, you need to unwrap this optional, and you know it's useless because it's never there. So, thinking about alternatives, I will, if anybody has any other idea, it will be cool, but I haven't found any other solution that I liked. Okay, I tried to play with the, I don't know, Swift type system and fancy things like that, but I didn't find any cool way of doing it that it didn't put the burden on the user, or that it was not typed. I didn't like that. Until I thought about something, and it's that I'm trying to attach this data to an existing type. You can't do that. But this idea of attaching data to a type, it's coming from a lot of object-oriented baggage. So what if we get rid of that? So here's the plan. Let's see if this works. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So what if we go to my plugin, okay, and what I'm gonna do is just have a private bar for data. This is probably gonna be any hashable because I want to store, I'm not sure now if the path or the item directly. I think the item is hashable, so I can just put it there. And then I said that I wanted this to be maybe something more. So what I'm gonna do is a public struct reading time metadata. So this is not gonna be a protocol anymore. It's gonna be a struct where we put the data. Then we can move this here and we can actually call this minutes, and this goes away. So no more protocol, so the user doesn't have to worry about that. Because this protocol is not there, it means we can delete this, and now our plugin is available on any site without requiring a protocol to implement it. Okay, we're getting there. Now, this is what we store on the data, and now this, instead of going into the item itself, it goes into the data, which I think I can do this because item is hashable, I think. So we can do this and store the, well, not the minutes directly, but this. What is wrong? Well, I need to create this. And in the other line, I think, yes, this compiles. Probably it fails, yeah, because now the thing is broken. That's fine. So now we're storing this data, but the user doesn't have access to it. So how do we give access to the user to this data? Like, ideally we want to have what we have back in the other way. Like, the user has the item and the item now magically has this data. Cool. I think one way to do this is we can just make a public extension on the item, and I would like to do it on the item metadata, but right now I'm not sure how I can do that because the metadata is just a protocol. I'm not sure how I can do that because it's not even a protocol, it's just a tape alias. So I will have to add more protocols myself. We can go back there at another point. For now, let's add this data into the item. So here we can just do the reading time, and that's going to give you the metadata from the reading time plugin. And here, in theory, we can guard this and try to extract it. If it's not there, for now I'm gonna fatal error because it should be there. Because again, we're going through all the actions and through all the items. Should be there, but I can see some scenarios where it may not. Which scenarios? I mean, the whole point of publish is that you write code to make the website, so you can actually write code to add items. If this addition is done after this plugin runs, the data is not going to be there. That's one way that can happen. I would say that's a mistake, that's not what we really want. So for now I'm going to fatal error, but maybe we can do something better. I have a couple of ideas. And now that this is here, I think that's it. Then you can go to your website, which is the change I was trying to do, and you can just access item reading time. And this, it's magically there by the magic of Swift. Now what's an issue? Yeah, here it's not minutes. Because it's private. Well, it's not public. So there you go, and we can just make a letter, to be honest, because nobody should edit it after it's created here, so that's fine. So that compiled, and that's basically the website running, no? But I think I have another place here that I didn't finish. Yeah, this should be that minutes, and that's what I said, like, now you have this item, but it's not just an item, an untyped item. As you can see, it's an item from your specific website, which means that you have access to what it has. Like in this case, because it's an extension, it will be everywhere, but it's just an example. So to be honest, I thought it was going to be harder. I'm quite happy with this. Now I can run this, and if I'm not mistaken, the server it's running, so I should be able to go here, reload this, and you can see that this is working. I have it here and here. Yep. And as you can see, it's not exactly, wait, no, there's something wrong here, because this I didn't run. Okay, it was still compiling, right? Now there you go. As you can see, it's not exactly the same, because this markdown file, it's literally the same as this one, and you can see that it says 6 minutes. So, or I'm detecting too many words, which that's possible, or maybe the rounding, this is rounding down or something like that, but it's something that I can take a look later. That's pretty much what I wanted to show, to be honest. I thought it was gonna be harder, but like I've shown you how you can make a plugin, which is just a Swift package that you just need to use publish, provide a way to add this plugin. Right now it's a static bar. This is probably gonna grow into a static function, because I want to pass in some configuration, and for that you need a function that access parameters, but that's pretty much it. And then to use it as anything else, you just make a dependency to it, which this is should be a proper dependency to the repo with the proper version, and that's it. Then you just use it, and the usage is quite simple. In this case, you just install the RIP plugin, and then you can have access to this extra data on your theme. Pretty simple, and there is not much to it. So I don't want to make this longer than necessary. It's working already. What can you complain about? That we have this private data global variable floating here. It's private, so the user doesn't even know that. And the fact that it's global, I don't think it's a big deal. For these specific scenarios, this kind of pattern, I find it quite nice, to be honest, because you can just keep these things private so you don't pollute anything, and you create a way of getting access to data from nowhere. Basically you're extending types storage, which is something that Swift doesn't do now. It can't do. It's what it's called a trait. So it's a trait. I have a blog post about that and I don't remember now. Anyway, on Swift we can extend functionality on the types. We cannot extend the storage of the types, the data that they have. This allows you to do it, and as long as it's private, it doesn't bother anybody. Now, this probably needs some unit testing for sure, but some tweaking in terms of what if the plugin runs multiple times. I've been thinking, what if the user has multiple websites of the same generation, because there is nothing stopping you to have these and generate it again with another, I don't know, another website here. So in this case, I don't think it wouldn't be an issue, because I'm basically having the data hashed based on the item. So two items aren't going to be on different websites. Shouldn't. But even if they are really the same item, the time is fine. So you can see that I don't think there is much of an issue, but apart that it's not something that we're used to, but I think it's a nice solution. So if you can see another solution, just leave a comment, we'll take a look. But for now, I'm gonna run this with this. I'm gonna probably push this to this repo, and I'm gonna keep iterating in this little plugin for publish. And yeah, now you know how to make a plugin. You see it's quite easy. We hope the community starts growing this ecosystem, and just remember to put publish plugin as a tag, so it's easier to find. There is not many, but it's start. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and if you have any questions, let me check that. Yeah, oh, it's fine. So thank you very much. See you next time.